Well, it has been a while since I've done this, but I had a medical issue. Uh, I had some difficulties. My energy level was way down. I couldn't walk 5 feet without getting exhausted, a little bit breathless. But went to my doctor, and he listened to my heart. He did an EKG because something he heard didn't sound right. Apparently, while he was doing that, my pulse rate dropped down to about 30 beats per minute. That ain't good. Anyway, so he said he sent over, I think I get something like a consult for me to see a cardiologist. Um, so I called the cardiologist's office the next day to see how things were going, to make sure things were moving along. They didn't have anything yet. Finally, I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to make an appointment because I don't need authorization through my insurance to do that. I'll make an appointment with the cardiologist. I'll go see them, see what happens. So I called the cardiologist's office to make an appointment. Soonest appointment I could get would be for the 21st of September. That's a month away. So I thought about it a little bit, and I said, you know what? That's a long time away. With what my primary care doctor said was going on, I'm not sure waiting that long would be a good idea. So I did an end run. My primary care doctor told me if I had pains or something like that, chest pains, to go to the ER. I said, well, you know what? With my pulse rate doing what it's doing, I'm going to go to the ER right now. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to go. Well, I did. They saw me. They did an EKG. They put me on a monitor, and my pulse rate kept dropping down into the 40s, 30s. One place it went down to 20 something. That's not good. So they took me in the hospital. I was there. Well, I went in Thursday night. Was it Thursday? Yeah, it was. It must have been Wednesday night. Anyway, I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday because I saw the doctor on Tuesday. And Wednesday I went in the hospital. Wednesday night, I was in the hospital. Did a couple of EKGs. One in the ER. They did what was called a long one. Not just the usual single page. This was like 3 or 4 pages long. Did the EKG. They said, well, we're going to have you seen by the cardiologist. You're probably going to get a pacemaker. Oh, okay. So, Thursday, they took me down. They did a cardiac catheterization to check that it wasn't a blockage that was causing this. There was no blockage. Immediately after the catheterization, they took me to another room, another operating whatever room, and I had a pacemaker put in. I have noticed immediately how much better I feel. Take my pulse now, it's strong, it's steady. Before it was kind of, it would skip a couple beats, skip one, skip a couple, it'd have one, skip a one, have two, skip two, wasn't a beat. I had what they called an irregular arrhythmia. I thought an arrhythmia was irregular, but Anyway, so that's what I had. They put a pacemaker in, and as I said, prior to the pacemaker, I couldn't walk like 10 feet and I would get totally exhausted, out of breath. Short, out of breath, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, that's what was happening. Now, I can walk from one end of the house to the other. I can walk outside and walk through the yard. I don't get exhausted. So, If you think you would be helped because of you got something going on, you can't get in to see a doctor right away, and it is possibly threatening your life, go to the emergency room. Use it. I mean, you got health insurance. I hope you do. If you don't have health insurance, still go to the emergency room. They have to see you. You know, you might end up with a bill that you might be able to work. The hospital I go to has a thing. If you don't make enough money, they have this thing called a bridge program where they give. It's like a charitable thing. You don't have enough money, you can't pay. So maybe other hospitals have that. I don't know. But I'm still kind of curious. My primary doctor, the doctor I saw, told me to go see a cardiologist. If my pulse rate was dropping into the 30s, why was I not told to go to the emergency room immediately? Why did I have to make the decision to do that the next day? You know, I don't know. I'm really curious about that. The healthcare system we have in this country, technologically, is really good. They've got the technologies to do things. I've got a thing in my chest regulating my heartbeat. You know, the advances in medicine have been amazing. The things they can do nowadays. You know, MRIs are, I mean, they take images of your body and they can see things in it that don't use x-rays. You know, they use magnetic response, the way parts of your body respond to the magnetic field. You know, they're making prosthetics for, you know, all kinds of stuff. That's not the problem with our health system in this country. The problem with our health system in this country is access. People not being able to afford to go to the doctor or to see a specialist or go to the hospital. They don't have the money. What happens if you need something you don't have the money for? Well, you don't get it. You know? Or you end up so much in debt medically that you have to go bankrupt. You know, which is not a good thing. I mean, technically, financially, it's good, but it really isn't. If you're somebody who rents a house or an apartment or whatever, if you have a bankruptcy on your record and they looked at it, they're likely not going to rent to you. You know, I'm a firm believer in the expression used here is Medicare for all. Everybody should get health care. Period. That goes along with a few other things. Everybody should have shelter, a place to live, access to food. How can it be considered a great country if there are people who don't have places to live, don't have enough food, there are children going hungry, people living in poverty? That's not a great country. I don't know what the poverty levels are like in, you know, the other countries, especially ones like the Nordic countries, Great Britain, countries that have national health insurance. I don't know what the poverty levels are like. I know there's a lot of people in Great Britain who are on the dole, as they call it. It's welfare. But I don't know, you know. And they struggle to get food too. It's not that we don't have enough food in the world. We do. But it's not getting to everyone. It's getting to people who have the money to buy food. And the same with housing. There are empty houses all over the place. Empty apartments. People are living on the street. Tents on the sidewalk. Why? Because everything has been monetized in this country. Everything. If you don't have the money, you can't get what you need. I've done it myself. People have to go to thrift stores to get clothes, because the new clothes in the big box stores like Target and Walmart and wherever else cost too much. I have to agree slightly with the right wing. This country isn't great, but not for the reasons they say. This country isn't great because we have people starving. This country isn't great because we have people who don't have homes. We have people who can't afford medical care. My wife and I go to the food bank. We get food stamps because our Social Security just barely gives us enough to live on. That's another thing, Social Security. That should be... I don't know how they base how much you get, but I think the base level is way too low. I took my Social Security numbers and averaged it out to, like, for a 40-hour week, I don't even get $7 an hour that way. I need... And the cap on Social Security, where you don't give out you don't have any more taken out for Social Security after a certain point, that needs to be gone. Get that thing out of here. You know, everybody is entitled to enough to live on. And I don't just mean money. I mean food, shelter, health care, college education. There's a couple of countries in the world that actually pay you to go to college. People here end up in so much debt over paying for college because they have to borrow money to do it, which is insane. I guess, yeah, I am a socialist. I believe aspects of socialism are good for everyone. I hope this 15% minimum tax thing that they got passed on corporations, I hope that's a start. I don't think it's the end. I don't think it's quite enough sometimes, but it's a start anyway. Okay? So, let's see how it works out. I will admit, sometimes for my taste, the Democratic administration is a little too... No, they are too slow, period. They're not moving fast enough. They're not taking big steps. They're doing tiny little steps. We're still going in the same direction, but it's too slow. It needs to move faster. Okay? That's just this angry old white man's opinion. But it is.